Welcome to this episode of The Independent. I'm Pete Sampson, joined as always by my co-host Matt Fortuna. Matt, March 4th, Notre Dame had a little bit of spring access today with the mid-year enrollees and new linebackers coach Brian Jean-Marie. The NFL Combine is in the books, which means we're now officially in mock draft season. And spring practice is this month. Also, my spring break is this month, so I'll be missing the next two podcasts. But I think you have some stand-in guests ready to go in my stead.
We've got replacement level players ready to go. We'll have a plan right now is to have Jordan Cornette on next week. He'll be in studio with NBC and Peacock's Conference Championship Week coverage. So we'll talk a lot about both college basketball and his thoughts on Notre Dame football and college football in general, as he was the the pregame sideline reporter for NBC's primetime coverage last season and presumably this season as well. Tim Murray will be also joining the show in your absence as well. You're going on a pretty fancy, elaborate vacation. So,
yeah.
Hope you don't miss this too much.
No, I will not be trying to log on to Marcus Freeman's introductory spring practice press conference while I'm in Thailand, but it is very much an other side of the world type of spring break here in the Sampson household, but should be a good time. See some new stuff.
Did you see White Lotus yet? The last season?
Yes, I've seen the White Lotus.
Which made you want to go there, clearly.
Oh yeah. I don't think we're going to be making it to
Your
that
kid's
resort.
gonna try to stay there and join
Yeah, we are going to some Buddhist temples. However, I'm not going to any sort of snake dancing or charming resort to check out how that works. So it should be a good time. We'll see a lot of interesting stuff. We'll make for maybe some interesting podcast material when I get back. But yeah, the NFL Combine has come and gone. Shockingly, Jeremiyah Love is really fast and athletic. We couldn't have seen that coming. Although, to be fair, I was skeptical that he would go sub 4.4 just because the human body is not meant to run that fast. And I think that Jeremiyah Love actually is faster from yards 40 to 99 than he is from 0 to 40. But 4.36 is insane for that size and speed. And a proof that you should never follow Twitter for combine takeaways. Somebody replied to his 4.36. Yeah, but he really needs to show that he can play with power and agility. That's what makes it in the NFL. And this tweet was unironic. So yeah, Jeremiyah Love, already an elite prospect, now potentially a top 5 pick. And we were trying to go through NFL Notre Dame draft history before we hit the show. If he goes 4th to the Titans, which is where my colleague Dane Brugel has him at the Athletic, he would be the 3rd top 4 pick in the last 50 years from Notre Dame. The other two are Rick Meyer at 2nd and Steve Niehaus from 1976, exactly 50 years ago. So Jeremiyah Love truly in uncharted territory potentially. Never mind the fact that running backs just never go that high. Notre Dame almost never has a draft pick of that caliber either.
I was surprised to see this. I literally just looked this up as you were saying it. He was not the fastest running back in the 40 time. Do you know who was?
No, he wasn't even the fastest running back on the field when Notre Dame played Arkansas.
There you go. Mike Washington Jr., 4.33. Also of note, Notre Dame related, Lorenzo Styles, now a safety or was a safety for Ohio State, 4.27, which also was not the fastest 40 time recorded by anyone. That would be Brennan Thompson, the wide receiver from Mississippi State, who went 4.26. What I want to know is, did you see the Adam Schefter tweet about Carnell Tate that spread?
No. What was this?
Presumably a favor to an agent, but I'll just read it here. Quote, Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate, the potential top 10 pick, was timed by several NFL executives and GMs on Saturday with a 40 time in the range of 4.45 to 4.47 seconds. Although the combine registers official times, teams always conduct their own timing. And those measurements with some teams were lower than is clocked 4.52. Lots of funny replies to that one, including, yes, officer, I know you clocked me going 78 and a 65, but several NFL executives and GMs had timed in the 62 to 64 range. That's from Brad Spiegelberger. I bring all that up because, yeah, let's get all 32 NFL GMs on the show and see what they clock Jeremiyah Love at. Maybe he was the fastest running back. Not that you can get a whole lot faster than the 4.36 he ran. But seeing him, I loved, I think I retweeted this. There was like a virtual reality side by side of him and Saquon from Saquon Barkley's combine time. And seeing those two guys who are just not built, take speed out of it, even though that's the most important part of this. They're just not built like your typical running backs. They just look different, especially once they get a football in their hands and they're on the field. That one was a sight to behold. And I think it puts into context just how special of a player Jeremiyah Love is and why you're seeing his name. It felt like every mock draft I read pre-combine was he was going 9 to the Chiefs. He was going 9 to the Chiefs. I don't see any of those anymore because he's not going to make it, I think, 8 picks all the way down there.
No, if you want Jeremiyah Love, you're going to have to trade up to get him if you're in the back half of the top 10, most likely. Also, I did think when Lorenzo Styles ran that 4.27, I thought back to the first play of the game when Notre Dame was at Ohio State in 2022. Did not look like Lorenzo Styles could run a 4.27 back then. But more power to him for betting on himself.
His brother won the combine.
Oh my God. Sonny Styles.
Yeah.
That was a sure thing out of high school. And lo and behold, he's going to, go in a top 10. I mean, it's just like a complete freak of nature. But Jeremiyah Love, I enjoyed some of the media coverage of him being like, oh, what an interesting personality, or like, oh, he really speaks his mind, or like, oh, he's really confident in himself, like as if people who maybe didn't read my story at The Athletic in August, but just had not been paying attention to Jeremiyah Love as a person at all. But I think that does speak to, the authenticity of him, because it's not. I think some people get up there and it's an act when they're at the combine. Jeremiyah Love is just like, that's just who he is. He's not trying to like impress anybody. He's not trying to show off. That's just who he is. And he is going to make a ton of money next year as not just a top 10 pick, but a top 5 pick. The rest of the combine for Notre Dame, I thought probably really good for Eli Raridon, kind of average for Jadarian Price, poor for Malachi Fields. And I think, Emil Wagner and Billy Schrauth are what they are. I don't think the combine is really a great test of offensive linemen because nobody cares how fast they do the 40. Even the bench press, it's important. Is the most important thing. I don't know. But, I think coming out of that, Love the huge winner. I think Raridon locks himself into like a mid-round position opposed to a late-round position. And then, I have a hard time seeing Jadarian Price, maybe he goes 28th, 29th. But I feel like his measurables don't scream, I got to take this guy in the first round, and certainly Malachi Fields, while his ability to make contested catches and his strength are probably first round level, not a lot of 4.6 receivers go in the first round. I think understandably so in a league that's built on speed.
I will preface this by saying I'm glad that Drew Dalman, the Bears center, decided to retire after the combine, 27-year-old from Stanford, because I can already hear anonymous GM in my head had that happened at the combine saying this is why you don't take Stanford players between him and Andrew Luck. They're too smart and they're going to go quit on you and make more money doing something else while their brains are still intact. So I'm just glad we got that out of the way. Should Stanford get good at football again in our lifetime and produce NFL draft picks? Price, it's interesting because 4.5 flat, I think is what he ran in the 40. And I was a little surprised. I thought he'd be a little bit faster. Not that there's any shame in that, but seems like he's universally thought of as RB2 in this draft.
Yeah.
Which is pretty telling for Notre Dame to have the top 2 running. I mean, I'm not saying this was Reggie Bush, Lendale White all over again, but like it is very rare you see a program churn out possibly 2 first-rounders at running back, but at the very least, the 2 best running backs in this draft class.
Yeah, I feel like Price probably didn't do anything to move people off RB2. I just wonder if his measurables will be enough for a team to be like, oh, we got to spend a first-rounder on this guy, opposed to we can find value later and maybe Price gets picked. If the Chiefs can't get Love at number 9, maybe the Chiefs can get Price early in the second round, or the Saints can get him early in the second round. Maybe we'll get into that kind of situation where, you have one top 10 pick in the first round at running back and one top 10 pick in the second round at running back, between Love and Price. So
you mentioned off air, when was the last time Notre Dame did not have a defensive player drafted? It was actually 2018. They had Nelson, McGlinchey, Smythe, EQ.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking 2015 with Ben Koyak, when he was the only pick and went in the 7th round, if you want to know how much more talent Notre Dame has now than then.
True. So Dane Brugler, your colleague, had a mock draft out today. He's got Love going 4th to the Titans. He had a 2-round mock draft. Charles Davis released one, I believe, today, NFL.com, and will be the voice of college football on CBS Sports next season. He had a 1-round one, and Jordan Reed at ESPN today had a 2-round one as well. Not too many surprises on any of these. Dane's got Love at 4th to the Titans. Malachi Fields at 63rd to the Patriots. Jadarian Price, 64th to the Seahawks. So maybe they will end up with him, just not use a first-round pick on him. Charles Davis, however, has Price 32nd to the Seahawks. Has got Love 3 to the Cardinals. Jordan Reed at ESPN.com's got Love at 8th to the Saints. I have a hard time seeing him fall that far. Price 50th to the Lions. Fields 62nd to the Broncos. 3 skill guys, pretty much universally believed to be the top 3 picks out of Notre Dame in this year's draft. And I know there's a lot of time to pick these guys apart between now and when the draft ultimately happens. But I had to go way back into the archives to find out when the last time. At first, I was going to say, when's the last time they had their top 3 picks were all offensive players? And there's actually been a number of times that's happened. It's just been almost exclusively offensive linemen or tight ends. Last time, and I think I said this to you off air, but if you want to repeat it, last time Notre Dame's top 3 picks in the draft were all skill players.
Yeah, I would be fumbling over years for a long time before I came to the answer, because it was what, early days of Era Parsegian? Is that right?
I believe that's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's
when was the first Super Bowl?
Oh God, it was this was Super Bowl 60, right? Am I not?
This was, yeah. So didn't matter that. Super Bowl 1 was on January 15th, 1967. So this has never happened in the Super Bowl era for Notre Dame.
That is wild.
1955 is the answer. Jack Snow, Tony Carey, John Huart all went in the top 76 back to back. Huart was also drafted by the AFL. I think in the 2nd round in 65. So again, the terms I'm using right now, the names I'm using, give you a sense of just how long ago this was, how historic it could be. For context sake, 2018, all 4 of Notre Dame's picks were on the offensive side. Nelson, McGlinchey, Smythe, St. Brown. 2010, all 4 also offense. Clausen, Tate, Young, and Olsen. 1969, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For their first 7 picks out of Notre Dame were all on the offensive side as well. Oh, 1999 as well. Pettigrew, Wisney, Rosenthal, and Johnson. So it's not like they haven't had great offensive players. They just haven't had this kind of cluster of skill guys going as high together as these guys presumably will be.
Yeah, and it's funny to think, to spin it forward to the team now, like to not have a defensive player drafted and yet have a defense that was really good last year, was great 2 years ago, and should be great again this year. It's not like they lack for talent on defense. And the players who came in today was a bit disjointed because their OTA ran late, so we didn't talk to everybody we were supposed to talk to. But I think all 5 DBs showed up. But I talked to Joey O'Brien, Aiden Pouncey, Kari Adams, all top 50, certainly top 100 players who, play corner, and safety. And I mean, there was a time at Notre Dame where you would get one player of that stature and sort of plug them into the lineup right away. And it was interesting to talk to these guys about, like, all right, you're a number 30 in the country. why go to a place where you're not going to play right away? What is it about either Notre Dame or the staff, which obviously changed over after these guys showed up after like 3 days, or just the players you get to work with? And it was interesting to sort of hear these guys kind of like look at, and maybe this speaks to like where the minds of college prospects are now. They're a lot more sophisticated than they used to be. It's like if I have to sit behind, if I'm Joey O'Brien, I have to sit behind a Don Schuler and Tay Johnson and learn and play a little bit, and then I start as a sophomore and junior and then go pro. If I'm Kari Adams or Aiden Pouncey, I have to sit behind Christian Gray and Leonard Moore for a year, and then they all go pro and I start. That seems to be like the deal these guys are willing to make with themselves. And I think it's sort of like, one, it's a compliment to, Freeman. He's a very popular guy to play for. The NIL investment Notre Dame's made in it to like get these guys to sort of invest now for a payoff later, but giving them, for lack of a better term, the seed money to do it. It's just interesting about the talent assembled on this roster, and it's part of the reason why, as much as after this year, I think there will be a transition within the program, maybe a big one. The roster itself is still set up for long-term success based on the guys who came in today to talk to the media.
It's funny. Our colleagues Bill and Doug over the Bill and Doug show, we're talking about quarterback turnover nationally and the different ways to build rosters right now. And they brought up the case of Jared Curtis, the one-time Georgia quarterback commit who ended up committing to Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, 5-star passer. And this was done like thinking out loud, but I think it's a valid point that probably applies to a lot of high-profile high school recruits right now, which is if you're Jared Curtis, if you're any good high school player, what do you want to do? You want to play immediately. Jared Curtis initially wanted to go to Georgia, which is returning a multi-year starting quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. It's not that Vanderbilt essentially become the farm system for Georgia and Georgia stashed him there and said, go there. You're in the conference. They don't want that. But it would surprise anyone if he has a good first year and then transfers to Georgia or a like-minded program. And I just wonder how many examples of that. And there's a diabolical / calculated nature to all of this, but I just wonder how many programs and how many players around the country this type of thinking applies to, because the coaches that when they're looking at other rosters.
Yeah, and I think it's getting back to the way recruiting used to be. Like, I know that Kirby Smart has bemoaned like it's impossible to sort of stock your roster in a way that you've got 4 and 5-star guys on your second and third teams, but that's kind of what Notre Dame's doing, at least on defense right now. Quarterback, is maybe a different story, and I've got a very long feature on Teddy Gerard that will run on Thursday on The Athletic after spending some time with him in Atlanta last week. I guess everyone's got a different approach to it. Like Gerard's point of view was, I'm highly likely certain that CJ Carr is gone after this year. And if I want to be the quarterback at Notre Dame, I got to get there. And credit to him for thinking maybe a step and a half ahead, even though he's skipping his senior year. But I think that quarterback is probably one position where you get into the farm system mindset if you're Vanderbilt, Georgia. But it's like also if you were Joey O'Brien or Kari Adams or Aiden Pouncey, like you kind of could have done that with other schools and then flip to Notre Dame later. I don't know. I feel like there's the upside of not starting over every year has got to be big enough that it makes more sense to just go to the program you actually want to play at, opposed to making this like overly shrewd business decision to go one place and then I can flip to Georgia down the road.
I would agree. Did you see, just because you mentioned Kirby Smart, did you see him and Mario Cristobal?
I did. I know there was a thing, but I didn't get around to clicking on it. What happened there?
Hilarious from both sides. So it was a Steve Spurrier first year coach award down in Gainesville, and both were invited to speak. I'm not really sure why, but Kirby got up there first and he took some jabs at Mario. And Mario got up and was like, "Oh, it's going to be like that, huh?" Well, and they played a highlight video of Miami before Mario got. And he goes, "I just want to say how nice it is to see Carson Beck with some actual coaching." And then he said he went on a long thing about like Kirby was doing NIL before anyone else was, and now we could all do it. He's no longer winning championships like he used to.
The
And
Shane
then,
Gillis line.
yeah, pretty much. And then Kirby gets up there with Spurrier, and he says something to the effect of, your daughter is one of the biggest realtors in town. I want to, you should thank me for keeping you guys in business because this is the 4 different Florida head coach you've had to find a house for since I got here. So they were really going at it back and forth. It was pretty funny to see. Felt like Mario was much more in his element there than Kirby was, but
that's outstanding. Yeah, it's. I'm sure that Mario's comments were delivered outside of the last 15 minutes of the presentation because I think he would have clammed up a little bit at that point.
15. Wow, harsh. Want to remind you all to subscribe to The Athletic to read Pete's work. He's got a Teddy Gerard feature coming down the pipe later this week. Subscribe to the Inside Zone to read my work, InsideZoneMF.com. Continue to subscribe, like, rate, review, comment on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to all of you who tune in every week to our YouTube page as well. These Wednesday live shows have become something of a staple over the last year, and we'd like to continue to keep them up. Even if one of us decides to leave the country for the next 2 weeks, I'll be here along with some, in one case, I think a bald guest. So we'll be back here every single Wednesday. Would like to also thank our friends at Obvious Shirts, OBVIOUS, SHIRTS.com. Great podcast merchandise, quarter zips, t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, you name it. Obvious Shirts has it. Thank you to our friends at Obvious Shirts.
Our friends at Roback.com. That's RHOBACK.com. Promo code Irish for 20% off your first order. I know I had a couple of people asking me that the promo code didn't work. Reached out to Roback. We're back up and running there, so you can use promo code Irish for 20% off your first order. Quarter zips, hoodies, vests like I've got on now, joggers, shorts, tees, polos, hoodies. Did I already say hoodies? I've got about 8 of them by now.
Great St. Patty's Day gear. If you want to get in the spirit.
Great. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day line, Chef's Kiss. They have officially licensed Notre Dame apparel. Jordan Faison was repping them last year. So yeah, Roback.com, RHOBACK.com, 20% off your first order with promo code Irish.
A couple housekeeping notes. Shout out to friend of the pod, Dave Peloquin, the new general manager at Michigan. Dave was at Notre Dame, I think, for 21 years in a variety of key roles behind the scenes, and a lot of South Bend flavor now on that Michigan staff between him, Tyler Stockton, Tony Alford, Larry Black.
Right.
A lot of Notre Dame connections now in Ann Arbor. If only these two could figure out a way to play each other every year, that would be something special as well. Men's basketball team. We've talked about them twice, and they won immediately afterward, both times, including with a big upset win over NC State in overtime this past week. And I gotta say, I'm bringing them up again because they host Stanford and they go to BC, 2 very winnable games. So thank you. You're welcome. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but hoops coverage, we've got it here. We'll certainly have some with Jordan Cornette joining the show next week as well. Hannah Hidalgo, back-to-back ACC Player of the Year, back-to-back ACC Defensive Player of the Year. The Notre Dame women basketball team is the 5 seed in the ACC tournament. They play at 1:30 on Thursday Eastern time against the winner of tonight's Miami-Stanford game. Pete, can you tell me where the ACC women's basketball tournament is?
Is it Greensboro?
Nope.
Brooklyn. I'm just going to keep guessing towns.
You're never going to
Washington, D.C.
You will not get it.
Cincinnati.
No. No, not that one. Multiple coaches made headlines this week because they said they never even heard of the town it's in. The arena is called Gas South Arena, and that is located in Duluth, Georgia.
Duluth, Georgia?
Yeah.
Would not... I mean, ACC
Georgia,
country if there ever was. Yeah, that interesting. Yeah, other basketball news on top of the NC State when I tweeted this out, kind of pushed the limits of what a viral Notre Dame basketball recruit could do. But Jonathan Sanderson, their point guard from La Lumiere, went to the game on Friday night against Spire Academy, which I think had 6 or 7 Division I players, including a top 10 player in the junior class, who I think King Gibson, who was awesome. His dunk over a 6'10" big going to Iowa State when Sanderson was 6'2" was absolutely incredible. And look, it would be great if all the Notre Dame basketball news was about the team right now, but there is something to Sanderson when he gets here next year. We'll see what the team looks like, but really special athlete, very fun player to watch. The game on Friday night was awesome. Jalen Harrelson was there. CJ Carr and his parents were there. They're close with the Sanderson family going back to their time around Ann Arbor. Tommy Carr and Jonathan Sanderson are really close friends back from the Saline days. But yeah, CJ Carr was at the game, which created a interesting moment in the concessions line when my son and his 3 buddies were waiting to buy popcorn, and CJ Carr was standing right behind them. And then small talk ensued, which opened with CJ Carr saying, "So you guys like Notre Dame?" And one of my friend's buddies said, I'm down with USC, which then he was punched by the other friends. But yes, apparently CJ Carr was quite nice in this setting, as 12-year-old Tate has reiterated multiple times since the game last Friday night. So it was a cool scene. But Sanderson, very fun to watch. He will be somebody that if you're a Notre Dame basketball fan, you will want to check out next year.
None of that went the way I thought it was going to go when you teed up that CJ Carr line story. I thought it was going to be either, "Hey, you fans of the Independent," or him saying, "Hey" to you in front of your son.
My son said he almost asked, like, "Hey, do you know my dad?" But like thought better of it. So I thought that was probably a smart decision on Tate's part.
Fair enough. I'll use Dane Brugler's mock draft here as sort of an exercise, if you will. But he's your colleague. He's a friend of the show, and I think he does this draft industry stuff better than anyone in the country.
We'll be coming on closer to the draft. He's just totally underwater this week.
Makes perfect sense.
With the beast.
Last time he came on, his wife announced she was pregnant with twins, so maybe he wants to not grow his family anymore. I don't know.
Different kind of independent bump.
Exactly. You look at the top 10 from his projected top 10. You got obviously Jeremiyah Love from Notre Dame. There is the offensive lineman, I think, from Utah. Yes, Spencer Fano. And David Bailey from Texas Tech. Ohio State, 4 top 10 picks. And that's pretty universal in most of these mock drafts. Miami, 3 first rounders, 2 top 10, all 3 in the top 20. Indiana, 2 first rounders in addition to number 1. I feel like you're seeing more of a correlation, more of a cause and effect with who are the teams to beat every year in college football? How good and NFL ready are their players? How good will their NFL players presumably be, or at least be thought of by NFL scouts than we have in the past? Certainly, yes, Alabama, Georgia, the SEC flooded the field. Ohio State's always flooded the field. But you just look at that. I mean, I believe at the start of the playoff, Notre Dame would have been favored over every team except Ohio State and Indiana, which makes sense when you look at the draft hauls, particularly for Ohio State and the fact that Indiana is going to have the number 1 pick. Notre Dame lost to Miami, which ended up being the national runner-up, which is probably going to have 2 top 10 picks and 3 top 20 picks. I mean, Miami did not. Was it Diaz's last year? Mario Cristobal has told the story of he gets a job or he's about to get the job and he watches the draft that year to see if anyone from his alma mater is getting picked. And there were none, I think, or there was 1 in the 6th round. Notre Dame understands right now, as we've seen through skill players, through what next year's haul certainly will be, you need to get the horsepower to play at the highest levels of this game. And they're doing it through the high school recruiting ranks. We saw that with the way they just signed their number 1 recruiting class in the recruiting rankings era. They are being much more aggressive with getting undergraduate transfers in. We've seen that with the haul they just pulled in. And the development is certainly there as well. When we see Love going possibly in the top 5, Jadarian Price, maybe the first-round pick. Malachi Fields, despite just 1 year at Notre Dame, making the most of that opportunity. I just think when you look at it, and I realize we're only talking about 1, maybe 2 first-round picks for Notre Dame in this case, but I think that has more to do with the way this year's lined up from a class structure sense than anything else, that they are now swimming in those waters, those zip codes of where you want to be, not just with, and I don't say this to rag on the last regime, but it was yeah, they outperformed their recruiting rankings. That's great. They still need to recruit better. How much did we hear that under Brian Kelly? Right now, I feel like it's leveling off in a way that should make everyone very, very comfortable about just the general state of things right now.
I think so too. And it will be. I'm interested to sort of see moving forward as Notre Dame. Like the portal is still going to be very important to Notre Dame. Like, but the guys they're getting in the portal aren't Fernando Mendoza, David Bailey, guys who end up going in the top 10, or even guys that go in the first round. Like Malachi Fields was going to be an interesting test case there for portal guys and how much you can actually develop in your last year. I think he probably would have been, I don't know, what, a 4th, 5th round pick if he came out last year, maybe a 6th round pick from Virginia. Now he's going to go in the 2nd round, maybe the 3rd. So there's, there was some development there in terms of Malachi Fields and his draft prospects. But, in the future, is Notre Dame going to go out and get Nick Marsh at receiver, for example? Like, find a guy who's going to be a first-round pick. Certainly, Signetti in Indiana has done a phenomenal job of portal evaluation and recruitment. I think Notre Dame has done a phenomenal job with the high school part of it. But, it's just, it'll be interesting to sort of see like how Notre Dame handles portal with the draft in mind. And then, can they stay on this development hot streak next year? I mean, it's weird, you'll have 6 offensive draft picks this year, a first round, maybe 1 second round, 2 second round, 1 third round, a 4th round, a couple later picks too. But like next year, whether it's, Traore, Drake Bowen, obviously Leonard Moore, Christian Gray, Adon Schuler, Tay Johnson. Like, next year you may have CJ Carr as well, but next year's draft class could be just off the charts for Notre Dame in terms of the development of it. And then you would be a multiple first round pick year. And there are not a lot of those in Notre Dame history. Certainly ones that involve an offensive lineman even rarer, or don't involve an offensive lineman, I should say.
I say excluding quarterbacks, which in this case would mean the number 1 pick, Fernando Mendoza. But I just think, as you said earlier, quarterbacks, they're all going to transfer because they all want to play immediately, and there's only 1 spot. Excluding quarterbacks, you got to go down all the way to number 7, David Bailey, Texas Tech, on Dane Brugler's mock, to get to a player who did not complete his college career all in one place. And even that one, I think, is a very unique set of circumstances. I believe he transferred after Troy Taylor got fired in the offseason, right?
I think that's right.
So, like, that's not even, of course you're going to transfer. Your coach just got fired and it's spring and people want you and throw money at you. Like, I say that all to say, like, I think it's validating for Notre Dame to see the way this thing looks like it's going to shake out right now. And look at the way Notre Dame goes about its business. Look at the investments they've made in some of the freshmen and sophomores that they're bringing into this portal class, and think, like, you still want to. It still benefits you to be in one system with one blue blood team and be well coached and grow and develop and be around other great players your entire career. Even the Ohio State guys, the 4 top 10 guys, the only one who's a transfer is Caleb Downs, who, again, very unique circumstance, leaves Alabama because Nick Saban, the greatest coach probably in the history of college football, retires. So I think that's validating as well through a Notre Dame lens when you're looking at the way this draft is likely going to shake out.
Yeah, it sort of circles back to our earlier conversation, the Jared Curtis, Joey O'Brien, like, you better to go one place, sit, but learn a system, kind of learn a locker room, learn a culture, or you better just going to wherever you can play the soonest and maximize the amount of game reps you can get. It probably differs by position. Quarterback, probably your game reps matter a lot more than how many reps you got at boundary corner. But that's that part will be interesting to sort of see where Notre Dame goes with that, and kind of like where the future of the draft and scouting goes.
It's also interesting, for as much flack as Notre Dame gets for their schedules, they faced most of these first rounders in their college careers. Like, they have faced some Greg. It's not Mekhi Lemon's fault that Lincoln Riley played him at quarterback against Notre Dame in the rain, or that his defense couldn't stop a nosebleed that night. Like, he's going to be a first round pick, and deservedly so. He's a very good player. All 4 of those Ohio State guys faced Notre Dame. Francis Mayoga, Ruben Bain faced Notre Dame. David Bailey faced Notre Dame when he was at Stanford. Monroe Freeling, I believe, at Georgia faced Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl the year before. So there's don't know if Mansour Delane faced them when he was at Virginia Tech. He was at LSU for 1 year, and there are a couple Clemson guys on here as well. But Big Ione, same thing. Faced Notre Dame. There's a lot.
Dylan Tiedemann.
Dylan Tiedemann. I literally just got to him right now. Who, my opinion, probably should have been at Notre Dame or Penn State, but ended up at Oregon after Purdue. Ended up there. Akeem Mesidor, same thing. There's just a lot of familiarity as you get down here. I don't know if Peter Woods is part of that. Was he 3-0 at Clemson?
I think that he was. So I guess he would have been on the roster. No.
TJ Parker, same deal.
Yeah, he would have been on the roster. It doesn't mean that they played.
And Casey Concepcion, also projected first-round pick, who faced Notre Dame this year as well. So they've seen some dudes this year. They have some dudes. They've seen some dudes, and they've gotten the better of those matchups more often than not. But it's just interesting. Some of the guys you watch in season who, that guy looks good. You don't really have a sense for how good they are, or if they're just happen to be having a good game until you see when the sun comes up a couple months later and the combine results come in and everyone has their mock drafts. And it's like, oh, wait, yeah, NFL GMs see this the same way you do. This is a good player you're facing against.
Yeah, it's a year from now, a couple months from now when we get our first mock drafts of 2027. I'm sure I'd be interested to sort of see, because I mean, BYU's running back, whose name escapes me, I think he would have been a
LJ
pretty
Smith,
solid.
I think.
Yeah, I think he would have been a solid draft pick this year, but returns to sort of, play his way up the board. Unbelievably, Malachi Tony has to stay in school beyond next year. But yeah, I mean, Miami will be loaded with draft picks again. BYU maybe to a lesser extent, but yeah, you're right. And I feel like it's been this way for a while, not just because USC typically has had guys. I feel like the individual NFL prospects that Notre Dame plays over time have been quite good. I mean, it's like, and I guess just if you play Ohio State semi-regularly, you're going to catch a lot of draft picks in that game because it's Ohio State, but they don't, the schedule for what it's not, what it is it's got an incredible collection of talent. I mean, who knows where Taylon Green from Arkansas will get drafted? He was kind of one of the freaks of the combine this year. I mean, when he snapped off I think a 50-yard run against Notre Dame, we're like, at that point, we didn't know if Notre Dame's defense knew what it was doing. Turns out it did. But yeah, they played some dudes, including the Washington running back, who apparently is faster than Jeremiyah Love somehow.
Is Green going to be a quarterback at the next level? I mean, he is a freak physically. I don't
probably not. Somebody I would like. It's you get to the next level and you hear about guys moving positions, and very, very rarely do I feel like it works out in a Taysom Hill kind of way, where you're just like, okay, or Anton Randall L, because they can just find somebody the next year or in free agency who can do what they need done immediately and not waste time on developing him. Taylon Green might be one of those exceptions, though, because even in the NFL, was he 6'5", 230 and runs a 4.4 something like that? There still are not many guys like that. And he was watching him against Notre Dame last year, like, okay, this guy clearly has some ability. It's a bit remarkable that Arkansas was as disastrous as it proved to be, at least against Notre Dame.
I get Logan Thomas vibes from the Virginia Tech quarterback, Logan Thomas.
He
went on to be
not the Notre Dame defensive end, Logan Thomas, who
went on to be a tight end in the NFL and had a fairly productive career. Might still be playing, for all I know, but that to me is like the archetype for what a Taylon Green can eventually become. Also, just curious to see if Diego Pavia gets drafted. I don't know. There's no denying the impact that guy made as a college football player. I love a good underdog story. Us in the media love the controversy because it sells and it's entertaining. We selfishly love the very, very odd marriage of him and Clark Lee, because I can't think of two personalities in the sport that could be more far apart than those two and how they made it work. But when he gets up there with a straight face and says, "I've been talking to my mentor, Johnny Manziel," I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know who tweeted this out. I would love to give
Not
him
that
credit.
Johnny doesn't have a lot to share, by the way, from very similar experiences. But like,
yeah, you can learn from people screwing up. I don't know who tweeted this out, but it was a picture of Diego at the NFL Combine. It's like, I know a Saskatchewan Rough Rider when I see one. I think that's about where
I'd
that's.
say the guy, like, if you look at his background and what he did to get to even get to Vanderbilt, I mean, it's damn impressive. The guy's a grinder.
Oh yeah.
So I do wonder, like, is he one of those guys? If you just give him a chance, is he going to knock that wall down and take advantage of the opportunity? But the size.
This is
real.
now like you're sort of describing him as if he's Drew Tranquil right now, which is a bit of a stretch, but okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like
I get what you're saying.
Drew is, what was he, a second round pick?
Tranquil?
When was he drafted?
Oh God, I thought he went in the 5th round.
Did he go in the 5th round? He's played so
let's
long.
Look this up.
So
you talk. I'll look this up.
Well, I only have so many Diego Pavia hot takes that aren't actually hot takes. I would not put Tranquil and Pavia in the same category, but that's neither here nor there either.
He was a 4th round pick, by the way.
But he started on a Chiefs Super Bowl winner. He started for the Chargers. He also had to switch positions, kind of, when he got to the NFL. No, I don't see similarities between those two. I just
like that he's worked so hard and overcame so much.
Well, I don't think anyone was blown away by Johnny Manziel's work ethic. They were blown away by what he did for 60 minutes
Jerry
in
Jones.
Alabama. Yeah, Jerry Jones, who did not want to take Zach Martin over Johnny Football, and fortunately for him, he did. Yeah, I think Manziel. I mean, wasn't he number one on not Manziel, Pavia number one on the Dog and Him rankings by Bill Connolly? Like
he was, yeah.
There's something to that to me. When you're an NFL franchise and you're not drafting someone to be your starting quarterback, as we saw Shadur Sanders, whose quote unquote controversy, I think had nothing to do with him. I think it had to do with his last name. Like, if you're not first rounder, we're not going to waste draft capital on someone who's going to draw attention at headlines and not start for us anytime soon.
Yeah. Just not quite worth it. So yeah, the NFL draft will be here before we know it. And then
by the time you're back.
Yeah. God, the NFL draft season, while not the longest of the seasons, feels like it goes on forever in a way that, I mean, it's like Major League Baseball's regular season and NFL draft season, I think, are comparably long, or at least they feel that way.
With one, there are games that are played and score that is kept. Like,
yeah, but the other one, people are paying attention to every little thing, looking for reasons to get mad.
Also,
so
true.
Yeah, it's strange, but Jeremiyah Love, to go from, it was weird. Today, Javian Osborne came in. He's a freshman running back. A week ago, Jonas Walton came in, freshman running back. They're mid-year enrollees. And I don't want to downplay their ability or potential, but just sitting there talking to them, I wasn't here for Walton last week, but I was there for Osborne today. You're like, oh my God, like Jeremiyah Love, never mind Jadarian Price. Those guys were adult men. Like, to get back into basketball, they were men, like Mike Bray used to always say in post game. And then these mid-year enrollees come in and you're just like, oh, okay, you're a teenager. You're trying to figure out what to do, where to go at Notre Dame. And the drop off in physicality there reminded me a little bit of when they introduced Riley Leonard and CJ Carr on the same day. And Riley Leonard had been in a college weight room for 4 years, and CJ Carr was still figuring out where to go at Notre Dame. It's a reminder of the development that is necessary for these kids to play, and why I get the Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt thing, developing in the background where you don't have to play, where you just got to watch and learn and work and lift out into 10 meetings. There's something to be said for that too.
That matters, though. I mean, shoot, you're playing BYU with literal grown men on that roster. You're playing Miami, which has had no shortage of 6th and 7th year seniors under Mario Cristobal. Like, that matters too. Like, that's where I think you see the the age difference, aside from the skill difference with a Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price when you're playing freshmen in those key spots late in the season. So I think that part really does matter a lot when you're looking at this. I will say this will be it for me on the draft for now. I mean, selfishly, I hope Jeremiyah Love falls. I just think it's really hard to make a difference as a running back on a bad team. That's why Chiefs at 9 would be unbelievable for him. I would also say the Commanders at 7. Like, I don't think that's a broken franchise. I think their quarterback got hurt. They had a bad year, and they got a good draft pick. And if they can get, I mean, who's their running back right now? I haven't seen Love projected there anywhere. I mean, they had Austin Eckler, who's your age at this point. So I think they would benefit from having Love in their room.
Yeah, it's I remember at this time last year, mock drafts had him much later in the first round, and the Chicago Bears were a popular destination, which obviously the Bears were too good, and Love is too good for that thing to work out. But yeah, that would have been. I would like him to go to a place that doesn't feel like a tire fire. No Cleveland. Tennessee
Vegas,
feels not
Arizona.
great. I mean, obviously, it's not going to go to Vegas. Arizona would be bad. I would love for him to go to a place where he can play and isn't just sort of stuck in like no man's land in the NFL. Obviously, Seattle's not going to trade it from 32 to 3 to get him, but that would be a fun place for him to be. We'll see, but I hope that he ends up in a spot where he can sort of shine and feature, because he is a really fun player to watch. Like you don't need to have watched Notre Dame very closely to know like this is a guy worth paying the price of admission for or building your Sunday afternoon around. So hopefully he ends up in a spot where he can shine a little bit moving forward.
Certainly. We'll close on that note. We'll say our goodbyes to Pete for a very, very long time. Hope he doesn't get Wally pipped like I almost did last year. But enjoy your trip. Enjoy your trip with your family. We'll chug along here without you. But until next time, he's Pete. I'm Matt. Thanks as always for tuning in to The Independent.